Sunday, July 24th. You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. On the weather map today, we have a high pressure area situated off the east coast of the United States, averaging about 3.3 at the center. This high pressure is responsible for bringing a southwest flow of warm and humid air up the coast. There are places which are not receiving humidity. Those areas have more of a westerly wind. Those are the areas which are likely going to go into the triple-digit category this afternoon. Temperatures well into the hundreds. For example, Newark, New Jersey. Yesterday, temperatures were in the 90s in Newark, New Jersey, but in the afternoon, the dew point dropped from the low 60s into the upper 40s. And during that time, the temperature soared to 101 degrees. All of that energy that which was absorbed in the dew points was put into the temperature, and those temperatures rose because of it. So the high temperatures is not the only indicator. It's not the only thing to look at when determining how much energy is in our atmosphere. The dew points are very important. The highest heat index yesterday in Newark, New Jersey was only 97 degrees. High temperature 101, but it was so dry that the heat index was actually lower than the temperature. The areas with highest humidity on the East Coast and the New York area, Long Island, New York, places like Islip, Riverhead, these are all places where the dew points will go well into the 70s today, lower and mid 70s. It's not there yet, but dew points low to mid 70s expected to develop later on this afternoon, especially 4, 5 o'clock. Even 3 o'clock already, dew points going into the mid-70s. That's going to bring those temperatures down a little bit. High temperatures only upper 80s to around 90 degrees in those areas. But heat indices will be about the same as they are in other locations at about 100 degrees. The area of highest humidity will be Ocean City, Maryland, at least very close, probably the western portions of Ocean City, Maryland. But Ocean City, Maryland, dew points going into the upper 70s, but that's going to bring the temperatures even further down. Highs only in the mid-80s over there. But again, heat indices over there too will be around 100 degrees. I think the most accurate way to measure the energy in the atmosphere to keep it simple would be to look at the heat index. It coincidentally happens to work out that it happens to be an accurate way to measure the energy. The most accurate way is probably to look at the wet bulb temperature, which is harder to get a hold of. That information is harder to get a hold of. It's those places which have water to the southwest of the cities. Those are the areas which are going to see highest humidity, and the lower temperatures could be found over there with highs generally lower 90s. But we just pointed out that some of the extreme humidity, such as Ocean City, Maryland, temperatures might only be in the mid 80s. When you go further west than the water, and including rivers, you go further west, you go into places such as you go into Washington, D.C., that's further west than the water, although they still do have some water to the southwest of them. So Washington, D.C. might, all in all, you might end up getting the highest heat index in Washington, D.C. Is, well, maybe not. You have temperatures going into the upper 90s for Washington, D.C. Dew points are quite high throughout the day, but at the moment temperatures do go into the upper 90s, European computer model shows those dew points dropping into the low 60s. So even for Washington, D.C., again, we're going to fail to have a heat index that much higher than 100. It's going to be a struggle even to get a heat index of 100 degrees. You go into Baltimore, however, perhaps. We'll talk about Baltimore in just a moment. Going into Baltimore, we have the same issue that we had in Washington, D.C. High temperatures going into the mid, perhaps upper 90s for Baltimore. You never know if the dew points get low enough. You might even see a temperature hitting 100 degrees. But again, the dew points are slightly higher than Washington, D.C., but afternoon highs are slightly lower. But heat indices will be higher in Baltimore than it would be in Pikesville, Maryland, which is right next to Baltimore. Perhaps it's even part of Baltimore. But places in the eastern portions of Baltimore City, such as St. Helena, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Helena, of Baltimore City, that area, dew points are going to be going way up into the mid 70s this afternoon. So parts of the eastern portions of Baltimore will see sauna-like conditions, very high humidity, especially later in the day. Dew points going into the mid-70s eventually by around 3 or 4 o'clock. Temperatures going into the low 90s. So that area will be seeing heat indices above 100 degrees, whereas perhaps the western portions of Baltimore, the heat indices may remain only in the upper 90s. Baltimore probably is going to end up being the hottest city on the East Coast today. The highest heat indices will due to the combination of very high humidity with temperatures in the 90s. Moving right along to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Dew points in Philadelphia, low 60s. Those temperatures, however, are the sun's going to be more efficient at heating things up over there due to the lower dew points. Temperatures going into the upper 90s. It's very possible we'll see some areas with temperatures near 100 degrees. But the real high temperatures are going to be reserved for the state of New Jersey, where the wind has more of a westerly component to it, and there is no water to the west of New Jersey. We're going to see very high temperatures over there. Temperatures going into the hundreds for many, many cities. Many cities in New Jersey will be seeing highs in the hundreds. Freehold, New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey, Jackson, New Jersey. We have places, New Brunswick, New Jersey, temperatures going into the low hundreds. This is the European computer model. Flemington, New Jersey, 100 degrees. We have lots of upper 90s as well. But the places getting into the upper 90s are going to be seeing more of a southerly component to the southwest wind, and that's going to be coming off of the water over there. And that's, you're going to have the heat indices might end up being the same just about everywhere. Many areas, again, will be seeing highs in the hundreds for New Jersey. Almost every city in New Jersey will be seeing highs. Any city which is away from the water, temperatures, Howell Township, high near 100 degrees, Jackson, Plumstead, Manchester, New Jersey. We have places in Springfield, New Jersey, Pemberton Borough, New Jersey. All these places, highs around 100 degrees. And if it's not 100 degrees, upper 90s, there is a couple areas, temperatures will be going up to 102 degrees. We're going to zero in on New Brunswick, New Jersey in just a moment. New Brunswick, New Jersey. We're seeing that we have different computer models. GFS computer models forecasting highs going into the mid-90s. European computer model shows highs going to about 101 degrees. The German computer model pushing highs into the upper 90s. Same with the Switzerland model. The North American mesoscale model, temperatures going to 99. And the HRRR model, which the rapid refresh, the high resolution rapid refresh model is showing highs of 100 degrees. And some of the forecasters indicate temperatures may hit 102. But the highest we see over here, European computer model puts highs at 101 degrees. The dew points are going to be significantly lower over there at just about 60, perhaps even only 59 degrees. That's according to the European computer model. The GFS model has highs going into the upper 90s, 97 degrees, with dew points in the lower to mid-60s. The higher humidity comes in this evening, with dew points rising into the upper 60s. And the high-resolution rapid refresh model has temperatures again going up to 101, but dew points only in the upper 50s. We're going to be talking again about Manhattan, New York in just one moment. So the high-resolution rapid refresh model for Manhattan, New York shows high temperatures hitting 100 degrees this afternoon. If that should happen, this is going to be the first time probably in 10 years that the city hits 100 degrees. For the Baltimore area, by the way, it would be the first time in 6 years should that happen. Now, the high-resolution rapid refresh model is just an outlier with this one. We're going to be You look at the North American mesoscale model. You have high temperatures going into the upper 90s, dew points in the mid 60s, high temperatures reaching 98 degrees according to the North American mesoscale model, with a dew point of about 64 degrees. So that does call for a heat index of 100, maybe even a little bit higher than 100 degrees. While that's happening, a wind speed of 12 miles per hour from the southwest is what's expected. So there will, ordinarily, that would create a little bit of a chill to the air. But when temperatures are higher than 95, the winds actually make it feel hotter. So there will be no chill to the wind should that forecast materialize. The high resolution rapid refresh model is showing winds also about 15 miles per hour, but dew points only in the 50s, temperatures reaching 100 degrees. We have the German model for the Manhattan area, temperatures according to the German model going into the mid 90s, reaching their peak around 2 o'clock, but the other models show peak temperatures later in the day. And I think the other models are probably more consistent with climatology, so it makes sense to really pick them. But the story with the German model is that the reason temperatures are going to get a little bit cooler later in the day is because that's when the humidity is really going to start to go up. We have temperatures around 2 o'clock in the mid-90s, dew points in the mid-60s. Dew points rise into the low 70s by 4 o'clock. Therefore, temperatures drop into the low 90s. Well, that's going to produce a heat index in the upper 90s. The winds are down to about 10 miles per hour. That's still higher than what they are on the heat index chart. So the heat index, but since, if the temperatures are higher than 95, or even perhaps higher than 95, so then, it's there. The winds are not going to have much of a chill, won't have a chill at all to the air. You go to the GFS model, that's the National Weather Service model, forecast highs, they say also upper 90s. So that's similar to the North American mesoscale model, dew points low 60s, and again, they have a 13 mile per hour wind from the southwest. But since temperatures are higher than 95, there would not be a chill to the wind. In fact, temperatures might even feel warmer due to the wind. But the European computer model, which is the most accurate model in general, forecasting high temperatures going into the mid 90s today, 95 degrees by about 4 p.m., 3 or 4 p.m. Or so. Highs about highs about 97 degrees. The European computer model shows high temperatures 97 degrees for the Manhattan area, 97 degrees in Manhattan. It depends where you are. That's the truth. It depends where you are in the New York area. Temperatures going to 97 degrees in Manhattan, with dew points rising at some point into the lower 60s. The heat index will likely hit 100 degrees in Manhattan. And then by this evening, the humidity skyrockets for a short period of time. It's kind of going to be on and off, with dew points fluctuating between the low 60s to the mid 70s. And it's going to depend where you are in Manhattan. So there's going to be times you're going to walk out today, the humidity is going to be like a sauna. And other times it's not going to feel like a sauna, but it's going to be hot nonetheless. And those winds will be picking up in the afternoon at around 10 miles per hour. Now, after seeing the North American mesoscale model for Baltimore, let's go over to Washington, D.C. and revisit Washington, D.C. to see what's going on over there. So the Washington, D.C. also has some very serious stuff moving in by this evening. Dew points at 1 hour, 73 degrees with a temperature of 96. It looks like that's going to be the peak. But, already by 10 o'clock, we're still talking about the heat index at about 100 degrees. So you're talking about, heat index is going well above 105. Heat index is probably 106, 107, according to the North American mesoscale model for Washington, D.C. Winds at that time will be from the south at 12 miles per hour. That's going to put a damper on the heat index. So we have a bunch of different models. What do we do with them? That we will leave up to the National Weather Service, perhaps, or we can just follow the European computer model, which is many times known to be the most accurate, although doesn't have the same resolution. And with the European computer model, we just do not see those high heat indices at all. It's just not happening. The North American mesoscale model is forecasting very intense stuff for Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as temperatures go into the lower to mid 90s, upper 90s earlier in the day. Heat index at that time, lower hundreds, but then we have the very serious humidity that comes in this evening. If the North American mesoscale model ends up working out, the heat index could very well be very close to 105, but probably at 102, something around there. Maximum heat index for Philadelphia, 102. Maximum heat index for Baltimore, closer to 105 degrees. And the same with Washington, D.C., according to the North American mesoscale model. Cherry Hill, New Jersey, North American mesoscale model shows high temperatures, upper 90s for them in the mid-afternoon. The serious heat really comes in the evening as temperatures, although they drop into the mid-90s, the heat index pushing again, maximum heat index probably at about 101 or so. So we do see that heat and humidity. The serious humidity comes in this evening, according to the North American mesoscale model. The European computer model does not show that high humidity moving in for this evening. But even the North American mesoscale model is not showing high humidity for the Manhattan area. Dew points mid-60s, high temperatures upper 90s, so heat index around 100 degrees. That high humidity moves in much later tonight, but it does move in with dew points approaching 76 degrees. Really, tomorrow afternoon is when we're going to see really, really high humidity for New York area, according to the North American mesoscale model. High temperatures in the low 90s, heat indices above 100 degrees. Now let's go ahead and talk about Providence, Rhode Island. We're going to see temperatures rising into the upper 90s this afternoon. Dew points in the mid-60s, perhaps even 67 degrees. We're going to see therefore a heat index passing 100 degrees with only a 3-mile-per-hour wind. I think Providence actually might end up being the hottest city around here. If we go according to the North American mesoscale model, we see those dew points really rising into the low 70s, temperatures 99 degrees. Providence is the winner over here. According to the North American mesoscale model, Providence is going to end up being the hottest this afternoon. We're going to see those temperatures, heat index reaching 103 degrees, perhaps even 105 degrees. And at noon already, well, it's already that. We're going to be seeing the heat index very close to 105 degrees. The thing about Providence is the winds are going to be pretty light. Winds only 8 miles per hour or so, which is lighter than what we've seen. So we really have some serious stuff taking place in Providence. The GFS computer model shows high temperatures reach, wow. The GFS computer model shows high temperatures going up to 104 degrees in Providence, but that's because they show the dew points dropping to 60 degrees. That's going to be the main reason why those temperatures are going to be shooting up. That's according to the GFS computer model. So either way, though, the main energy is going to be in Providence. They're going to have the most energy out of this. That's what it looks like. Again, we have the European computer model showing heat indices in the hundreds, between 100 and 105, but winds only 3 miles per hour. That's going to even make it feel hotter because the heat index charts again was made for 5.6 miles per hour. We have the German computer model. We have the GFS, which we're just going to ignore, but that shows a high temperature reaching 104 degrees. We have the German computer model, which is very similar to the European computer model, showing high temperatures going into the mid to upper 90s, a dew point of 68 degrees, so a little bit more humid than the European computer model. We're going to see those that would produce a heat index again about 102 or 103 with a 5 mile per hour wind. The winds are slightly stronger according to the German computer model. The high resolution rapid refresh model is showing temperatures going into the mid 90s, dew points mid 70s, heat indices around 105 degrees. So Providence, Rhode Island, so far, I thought originally that it was portions of Baltimore, but I think Providence, Rhode Island is going to see more energy from this heat, and the heat index is going to be very similar to what it's going to be in eastern portions of Baltimore. Now, again, we don't know how all these computer models are going to play out, but really what that's saying is that there's higher confidence. The highest confidence right now is in Providence, Rhode Island. We have not looked at Boston yet. We're about to look at Boston in just a moment. Looking at Boston, Boston looks to be the coolest of all the big cities. High temperatures going into the mid 90s. We have the GFS computer model showing actually high temperatures going into the upper 90s for Boston. Highs going into the upper 90s. But dew points only in the upper 50s, so there's going to be no heat index according to that. And also there's a 15 mile per hour wind, but since temperatures are higher than 95, the winds will make it actually feel hotter outside. The European computer model shows high temperatures. This is generally the most accurate model. High temperatures going into the mid 90s, and again, no heat index for Boston. And again, there's also a 14 to 17 mile per hour wind. We have the German computer model showing high temperatures going into the upper 90s. But again, there you have a dew point of 60. Perhaps you'll have a heat index of 99 degrees with also a 15 mile per hour wind. You have the North American mesoscale model that so far has been drenching many cities with humidity. With Boston, it does put a minor heat index, especially at around 2 o'clock or so. Temperatures 97. This one does show that there could be a heat index of 100 degrees for Boston. That's the North American mesoscale model. It's the North American mesoscale model that is showing the highest heat indices in all of these cities, with Baltimore and Providence a very close race between the two. Higher confidence in Providence because there's many computer models forecasting the same thing. In Baltimore, lower confidence just because we only have a couple. Baltimore, the eastern portions of Baltimore, there's higher confidence, but then the western portions, in terms of the humidity, there's not the same confidence because we only have a couple computer models forecasting that. The high resolution rapid refresh computer model takes us again for Boston 99 degrees, but there's no humidity. Dew points in the mid 50s, which is ideal humidity, so there is no heat index. So the Boston area, temperatures upper 90s. Most energy could be found in the Providence area. Temperatures, for top-notch forecasters say temperatures will reach their peak in the New Brunswick, New Jersey area, in Trent and Newark, New Jersey, with temperatures going into the low hundreds for that area. National Weather Service says highs around 100 degrees. But in theory, should the humidity not be in Providence, should Providence see the same humidity that Boston's getting, the temperatures would go up to 104 degrees in theory. In reality, high temperatures mid to upper 90s with heat indices close to 105. And that's maximum peak heat index for Providence, 105. All in all, so far, of all these cities between Baltimore, Washington, D.C., New York, Philadelphia, we looked at New Brunswick, New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey, New York, Boston, and Providence. Providence does seem to have the hottest, the most energy is in Providence. It's a close race between Providence and Baltimore, even all these cities, Washington, D.C. But some of these drier cities, New Brunswick and New York, it's kind of going back and forth. It depends where you are. That's going to determine the dew points. But this city that seems to have on the most consistent basis with higher confidence, a combination of high humidity and high temperatures, is going to be Providence. The other cities will at some point during the day have high humidity and at some point have high temperatures. But in regards to seeing the two of them together, it's going to be a hit and miss. So that's the story right now. We have not gone up into Maine. Maine is expected to see high temperatures go into the low 90s today, even Caribou, Maine. The Midwest is another discussion, and we'll talk about the Midwest in just a moment. St. Louis, Missouri. High temperature today, North American mesoscale model. Highs near 100 degrees. Heat index near 105 degrees. The National Weather Service GFS computer model. High temperature going to 102 degrees. Heat index also about 105 degrees with the winds at about 8 miles per hour. That's going to be happening mid-afternoon. Those dew points soar into the mid-70s by this evening. European computer model looks to be the coolest of all of them. High temperatures in the upper 90s, 97 degrees, with a heat index of about 102 degrees, but the winds are only at 6 miles an hour. Currently throughout the country, we have a heat wave developing off in the Northwest Pacific. We have monsoon rains producing flash flooding over in Phoenix, Arizona, the Arizona area, and the desert Southwest. Very hot conditions continue over Oklahoma and Texas. Temperatures going into the hundreds for those areas. Memphis, Tennessee, highs in the hundreds for the next couple of days. Arkansas, temperatures in the hundreds. St. Louis, Missouri, a cold front moves through in a little bit. Temperatures will be cooling off, especially by Tuesday. Lots of 80s for this week. That's the first time in a long time that St. Louis has seen consistent 80s for some time. We have temperatures in the 80s for Chicago. The humidity leaves the city by tonight. Temperatures in the 90s for Cincinnati, Ohio today, but dropping into the 80s for the rest of the week. The East Coast, the Southern Plains, and the desert Southwest, in the southern Midwest, middle Mississippi River Valley. Those are the areas which are seeing the most intense heat right now, with temperatures in the hundreds for the not for the East Coast. Not many hundreds in the East Coast, but there will, except for New Jersey, be pointed out. Some computer models indicate plenty of hundreds for the state of New Jersey. Heat wave continues for Spain, but it has retreated in the south part of Europe, but it remains there. And what that means is that there are going to be times where it's going to expand northward again. So those northern cities will likely see a return of the heat from time to time over the next couple of weeks. Thank you for listening. I wish everyone a great day.